When it comes to cold emails, you have to remember that supervisors are receiving so much music and so many emails. I mean, I send them a certain amount of songs, but I'm only one person at one company. Imagine every single publisher or the people that they have a relationship with, the supervisor has a relationship with, reaching out to all these people, everyone sending music. And those are the companies. So if you're talking about people that are doing it independently, you really have to punch with the big dogs. You have to be notating your emails in a certain way that's going to catch their attention. And for the love of God, please make sure that your links work.
Hey, it's Mike Meiers from the Songwriting for Guitar podcast. Before we jump into this episode, if you're a songwriter, guitarist, and you're looking to advance your skills, gain confidence, and monetize your craft, be sure to check out songwritingforguitar.com for all our free resources. So let's jump into this week's episode. Emily, thank you for being here. What I want to talk about, especially when we mention singing, it's the buzzword. It's the word of the last 5 years where people are like, sync, sync. They get inundated with ads for courses about sync, or they hear like, I've heard about this and I feel like my song should work well for sync. Yet there's very little known about licensing or the idea that it's like a greater word of synchronization, music to TV and film.
Yeah.
The question for me is like, your role as a creative sync manager. First, how did you get into this? Like, how did you get into this role? I feel like there's got to be some steps along the way that happen.
Yeah, that's a good question. I came to Nashville wanting to do music. So I've been a writer for the whole time I've been here, and I've been in town for 10 years. And, I wasn't really cutting it. I wasn't getting in the rooms that I wanted to get in, and I needed a source of income, as everyone in this town knows. It's a hustle. And I always loved film and TV, and having a background in music, I really loved the idea of sync because it's a perfect marriage of my background in music, but also my love for film. And so I really started to pursue that, and I've kind of hopped around a bit and landing here at Capital Christian as a sync creative manager is just such a blessing. It's so cool that I get to do what I get to do. Like, my job's crazy when I explain it to people that I get to pitch songs for film and TV and commercials and video games. And the best part is like seeing a project you worked on and knowing that, like, hey, I placed that song. That was because of my creative brain, and someone on the other side of the computer agreed with me that it worked.
Now, what I don't want to skip over, and I think this is an important part because I think there's so much in a mindset of that. You said you weren't getting in the right rooms. And to me, there's a point where it's like you made the choice to pivot to another area. And there's so many people that stay stuck that never pivot. How did you get to that point and be like, I have to make this move. I have to make this decision, where I feel so many get stuck in choosing not to pivot. And then that's where they get into the mindset of just like, oh, the industry's rigged. It's the worst. And it's just like they go into all that, kind of digging their heels in, where I'm like, oh, that's so smart to just make the pivot, because then suddenly traction that you desire and you want to see happens.
Yeah. I think it's kind of twofold. Part of it was because I know myself well enough that I didn't have the self drive or motivation to put myself out there the way you have to these days. You have to have a social media presence. I'm horrible at social media. I also just don't love being on camera. So doing this is way out of my comfort zone. I'm so excited to be here. But I knew that about myself. And so that made me also take a step back. But also, I kind of just found a different passion. I love writing, and I still do it as a hobby with some friends. I actually have a fun little like passion project that I'm working on right now. So it's not dead and gone. It's just more of a shift of priority and passion. And I find myself being way happier not putting my nose to the grindstone in something that I realistically know about myself isn't going to come to fruition. And I'm just a happier person because of it.
I love that you still do it too. Like, it's just still part of the process. Like, you don't ignore that side. You still treat it. You still, like for me, I love pop punk. Yet I know in saying it's not always like people are like, I want pop punk all the time. So
Right.
it's like I still
Pretty
allow
specific.
myself to live in that land and still produce things and do things that I enjoy. And because I realized if I didn't do that, the other side would kind of suffer a little bit. So I like how you still give yourself the outlet, because I think some people think it's cutting it. Like you have to like do this like this clean cut and like it's gone forever. And I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be.
Definitely not. And I think honestly, it serves my current position really well because I know how a songwriter works because I am one and I know how to build a good song. And so that way I can speak into the sessions that I'm helping set up through my job. So I can connect with our writers and our artists when they have questions of like, hey, what about this part of the song? I'm not just looking at it from a sync creative point of view, but also as a fellow songwriter. I think it helps in my current job.
It's an extension. That's interesting because there's a book I love. It's called The Gap and the Gain. And it talks about like two ways of how you can look at something. You can see it as a loss or like a value. And to
Yeah.
me, that's a gain because you're saying, oh no, like all the knowledge that I picked up and everything that I've done has helped me inform to be even better at my job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that is so smart. You don't see it as like, oh, if only I made the switch years ago, I could have. But no, this is
Yeah.
helping me inform and look for great partnerships, because if those partnerships do well, those songs do well. If those songs do well, I can get those songs into shows, I can match them up, and that helps my job.
The whole journey has been exactly what it's needed to be. There's different phases of my life that I'm really grateful for, and I am here for a reason. And I believe that all of that was necessary.
Hmm. That's a good clippable moment. So if you do post on social
Mhm.
media, I'm like, that's like, but it is the whole journey was worth it. Like it all had a purpose and it had an arc. Like it has that pathway, which is huge. Now, if we get into some of your daily operations as a creative sick
Yeah.
manager, you said like first, like I want to touch on, and I think this is huge for those that are listening that want and desire to co-write, and they know
Mhm.
they need to. Some drag their heels more than others because they see it as like, oh no, I need to share like a little bit of my project. But for you,
Mm.
pairing, what do you look for when you're thinking of the right matches? Like, I know this pairing of this producer and this artist will do well and create something that will not only be beneficial for both, but it'll be beneficial for me as a whole in pitching
Yeah.
that later on.
Yeah. Well, what I love about my job is that most days are different and I get to kind of speak into different parts of not only my own creativity, but other people's process. And so, yeah, a lot of what I do is listen to music and categorize it into folders according to media, so film, TV, ads, promos, trailers, etc., or mood or feel or genre. And that breaks it down into bite-sized pieces so that when I do get a sync brief in my email, I can turn around a lot faster because a lot of those timelines are pretty quick. But yeah, when I get to speak into a session and say, like, I think this combination of this producer and this songwriter and this artist is going to create something really cool, that's like just a fun little extra part of my job where when I listen to the song, I'm like, oh, okay, we could maybe switch the producer to someone that would maybe lend into this genre a bit better, or that song was great. Let's do it again and let's do it again. Or there's a there's a good balance of me working with them in that way, but also them leading the ship and telling me like, "Hey, I really liked working with this person and I want to do more of it, but I also want to like meet new people and work with some baby writers or artists, or I want to try and strive and work for some bigger names." It really comes down to the artist and the writer, and our creative pub team does a lot of that work too. So I only speak into like the sync specific rights, but there's a lot going on when it comes to the rooms.
Now, there are two big things that you hit on that I feel like we can dive into. The first is turnaround time. I think people like maybe you have an artist that is building an album and it's going to take a while. There's always this process and this long journey and evolving. Sync happens very quickly, where yes, you can prep and you can create albums that are syncable, production albums, things that you can build out. But when you get a brief, the turnaround time is it is not long. It is sometimes very, very short. How can someone start prepping their creative brain to be okay with that? Because I think creatives can get in the headspace of like, I'm going to need a weekend or a month to think about this concept for a while. Where the idea of just like what you need in 24 hours, like,
Yeah. Well, in my specific seat, having songs queued up and ready to go is the best way I can serve those quick turnarounds. And a lot of those quick turnarounds are going to be in like the ad and commercial space, maybe some promos, because those things just happen fast. Some of the longer runways are going to be film, because if they come to you early in pre-production or production time, then they're not going to be adding in the music for a while. So you have a bit more of a runway, and that's typically when I will go to our writers and our artists and say, hey, I know this project's coming up. Why don't you try and write a song for something that would work in this kind of film? For example, I have a writer producer working on something for Spider-Verse, but that's not releasing until 27, I think. So long runway on that one, but the vibes are there.
Interesting. Even within sync, there are different buckets, because you mentioned ads and film, and all of them have different timelines. And also, like, I feel genres are different, a little bit different for each one sometimes. And is there a benefit too? Because I see some writers thinking, I need such a diverse catalog, that they create such a kind of like a Golden Corral catalog where they're everything for everyone. And it's just like, and for those that are maybe like Golden Corral, but like the buffet of like, you can get a little taco, you can get a pizza, you can get some chicken. They're like all of that, but I'm not sure who they are. Is it better to really focus on staying in a lane, developing that lane, developing your style, your sound, and not worrying about trying to be everything for everyone in every branch of licensing?
That's a really good question. I think that really comes down to the songwriter. Personally, when we're talking about sync, I think being a chameleon in the room is such a superpower. And when you do that, you have the chance to be in a bunch of different rooms and have a lot of different partnerships with other writers and artists. You can kind of just be thrown around because you can be a jack of all trades. But if you do that, you may not be the first person someone thinks of when they want a specific genre, sound, or vibe, like you're saying. If you want more of a signature sound and be the person someone thinks of when they hear inspirational pop or dark thriller, then maybe doing a signature sound and branding yourself that way is the way to go. I think there are pros and cons to both sides.
So what's interesting about that, it's like you have to know yourself as a songwriter and kind of
Yeah.
develop and see and get feedback. And maybe that's the other thing too, is having a mentor to really start to see, kind of be that mirror of,
Yeah.
oh, you know what, you are really good at adapting to rooms, or you know what, when you really lean into the dark pop side of things, it's really good. Not that these others aren't, but it seems like this is kind of your sweet spot.
Yeah.
That's super fascinating, because I do love those perspectives, because as soon as you mentioned dark thriller and like cinema, I'm like, if we're talking about music licensing, I'm like, Tommy Profit is like a producer that I'm like just crushes everything that's like hybrid orchestral and dark, and just like, and does it so fluidly.
Yeah, and that's a great example, like, the fact that you were even able to think of his name, because that's what everyone associates him with. He's clearly created a signature sound, a signature brand. People know to go to Tommy when they want that type of song.
I love that, because it's just thinking of the name as a brand in itself. And I feel like, especially in music, we're resistant sometimes a little bit to that. We're just like, I'm not a brand. It's like, no, you are a person, but a brand can be the experience that you create for your collaborators, and the sound and everything that you're putting out. It's all under that. So if you want to say brand, that's kind of what you are a little bit. And there's sometimes a little resistance to that, because people don't want to muddy. Oh, it's creativity. And it is, but it's also a brand, because if you want to do this, sync is a service-based industry, and it's a business, and you have to remember that, and that's sometimes hard.
Yeah, and I think there's space for both of the things. I think there's space for people that want to go full in on the social media branding and creating this idea of themselves to the public, but there's also space for someone that just wants to write good songs and get sync placements. When you're talking about how important a brand is, then I would say the good rule of thumb is the bigger the budget or the fee for the placement, the more likelihood the production is going to want to have a brand or a social media presence from the artist that aligns. Otherwise, I don't think they really care. It kind of is from the top down, it's ads. Ads have the biggest budget and typically the highest fees. So ads, they're going to want some kind of branding or social media presence from the artist. But when you trickle down to TV and film spots, I don't really think that they care a whole lot about branding unless it's a very specific moment and like clearly the director is wanting the audience to think of something, want to evoke some response or image in their head, then maybe they want a bigger song and someone with a presence. But other than that, a lot of those songs are going under dialogue anyway. So they're not stealing focus from the scene. So branding isn't super important across the board for sync, really just for those bigger budget and fee placements.
What's interesting, and I hope as people are listening, they're realizing just the word sync, there's so many nuances to it. So like what you described there, like there's probably not as much when it comes to like Teen Mom 2. It's just like, because there's like 13, 14 songs per
Mm,
episode, and it's like, cool. It's like you're going to find a mishmash of things. It's still going to be great if, a songwriter goes to Tune Find and is like, okay, let me take a look at like lyrical names or just things they can do for research. But when it comes to like a brand, like I think of like Callie J, like there's
mhm.
going to be a lot more of like, if you go to her Instagram, like it is well branded. It is. And you can see like why there's been so many different ads that have used her
Totally.
songs because it's
Yeah.
very like brand focused.
Yeah. 100%.
And as we're even throwing out names, I'm like, oh, it's also kind of researching a little bit. And this is where, even if we were to write for an artist project, like if you're aiming for a country cut, you kind of have to know about that artist. You have to listen to them. And to me, if you want
Hmm.
to get into licensing, it's sometimes amazing when people are like, oh, I don't really listen to that much music. It's like, you probably should. You should
Yeah.
probably listen to what's working.
Yeah.
How does a person maybe start to kind of, if they're interested in that realm and they just want to see, is this the right fit? What should they start doing, or just a few steps to start to inform themselves so that they don't necessarily spend so much time writing and then throwing songs
Into
at
the
people, hoping
abyss.
something, yeah, that something sticks?
Totally. And you hit the nail on the head. I would really encourage the first step to be research. Like watch TV shows, consume all types of media, trailers, ads, like make it a big variety, not just TV and not just one show that you love. I am guilty of rewatching the same TV show, your comfort show, but it is part of my job to know all different types of media. So I watch a lot of different media. And I would encourage people to start there, consume all different types of media, and listen for the music and take notes on what's working, what's not working, and why you like a song, why you don't like a song, what song would you put in its place. And then the next step is doing your homework. So become a supervisor for the day, make a playlist for your favorite TV show, and choose songs you would put in place of the songs that are already in there. And I feel like switching your perspective into kind of what the supervisor would look for will also hone your craft as a writer or as an artist because now you're looking at the point of view of someone that's trying to place the song in the show. And do it for all different types. Do it for shows, do it for movies, do it for ads. Make playlists and be your own supervisor.
Songwriters, we do that in our writing. We switch perspectives. We think like, oh, I'm
Mm,
going to be the first person. So the idea of like, I love that, be the supervisor instead. Cool. You think that you can curate a great playlist for Wednesday.
yeah,
Awesome. I want you to go create it and then pull up an episode, mute it, and then start playing it and see if it works.
totally.
Because it's interesting. We do consume a lot of media. If you really think about it, the things that we either watch, we hear, in YouTube ads, they're web-only ads, or we see on regular network television, we are inundated with a lot of music, yet if we don't pay attention to it, it is noise. But if you start to look at, oh, it's interesting, pharmaceutical ads tend to use this, or, oh my God, I listened to this and I saw that Netflix used all of this or this particular style, it does give you a metric or just a little bit of a blueprint to start going at it. Because I guess my next thought is, if somebody's like, oh man, I've got all these songs that are perfect for such and such show, I'm going to throw them all into an email. I'm going to attach all the MP3s. I'm going to send them and spam them before someone maybe jumps the gun. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to inundate, all these I'm just going to do all these cold reaches. That is a smarter way to assess whether this is going to work and I should reach out, or should I pursue a different avenue before reaching out in a cold email?
Great question. When it comes to cold emails, you have to remember that supervisors are receiving so much music and so many emails. I mean, I send them a certain amount of songs, but I'm only one person at one company. Imagine every single publisher or the people that they have a relationship with, the supervisor has a relationship with, reaching out to all these people, everyone's sending music. And those are the companies. So if you're talking about people that are doing it independently, you really have to punch with the big dogs. You have to be notating your emails in a certain way that's going to catch their attention. And for the love of God, please make sure that your links work. Make sure their links do not attach the music to the email. They're not going to download anything that way. They're not going to work most of the time because the attachment is too big. We're not going to get into computer technicality, but
because I still get that where people are like, here's an attached file. And I'm like, no, it's because it also gets marked as like possible virus, do not download. And it's like, there's so many, there's already enough walls between you and the supervisor. Don't add intentional, like other walls yourself on
don't
top
create
of that.
them. A funny story about that is I received a thumb drive one time of someone's music, and it was very sweet. I really did want to listen to them, but it just goes to show, like, I'm not going to put that in my computer. There might be a virus. So you really want to set yourself up for success. Like, we work in disco. If you have a disco, awesome. If you don't, I really encourage it. It's going to be the most efficient way because when supervisors get a disco link, they're going to download those songs to their disco, and then your songs are going to live in their disco. So a lot of the times supervisors start in their own disco playlists. So when they're searching for different tags or mood, feel, genre, what have you, they're going to look at what they already have. And then if they can't find something in their own playlists, that's when the search begins. That's when they're going to start reaching out and taking submissions from anyone. So make sure that your music is downloadable. And disco, I really recommend using it. That's what a lot of supervisors use.
I think it's adorable that somebody gave you a thumb drive. And it's like,
It's
it
really
is
cute.
it's so sweet because
I'm not going to give away the age of the person. You could probably guess, but
it's adorable because it's like, oh, it was probably personalized and they tried to make it like more like branded to themselves. But it's kind of like walking in the street and somebody running up with a fork and a piece of food on it. It's like, I have this for you. It's like, I'm not necessarily going to eat it because I don't know.
I don't know what's in it. Yeah. I don't know you personally. I don't know what's in it.
It's adorable, but it's interesting because, you have to understand the ways in which they are listening and consuming and what is going to be easy. I think that's the thing too, is what's going to be easiest for them and not a roadblock between you and your song.
Yeah, definitely. You want to make their job as easy as possible. Otherwise, they're going to find a reason to skip over it.
The one thing too about the song, and I feel like this is a big myth about licensing, that it's not a throwaway song. Like, it has to be a really good song. It can't be a song that's like, it's okay. Like, I wouldn't give it to an artist, but I think it could be used for this show. Let's put it in this movie. The bar and the standard is so high.
Yeah, the standard is so high, and you have to remember, if you think your throwaway song is going to compete with someone's intentionally created sync song, you're going to lose every time.
That's a grammable moment because I'm like, it hits, but it's true. It's like, it can't be throwaway. And I maybe it's because they desire an opportunity, but it's just sometimes when I hear songs, I'm like, oh, you can tell that they were thinking like, this is, they say synchy, like, and what you're talking about, it's like, it's a team. It's like a producer that understands broadcast quality. It's an artist and a top lighter that has a tailored voice that dials into the exact emotion and the thing we want to feel. It's a lyricist that's also understanding we can't write things that are cheesy and just the most cliched. It still has to connect, and it also has to not be so descriptive of the scene because it's also licensing and we need it to just work. There's nuances to each one of
So
those
many
roles.
nuances.
And that means building a team. And if you're doing it on your own and you think you do everything well, there's some gaps. You can't do it on your own.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that do it independently and do it well, but it is a hustle. It takes a lot of time and a lot of networking to know the right people. I think having a team behind you is super important. If nothing else, then just to have people in your corner helping you fight your battles, helping the more lines you have in the water, the more likelihood you're going to get a bite. And that's people in your corner helping you get into rooms you may not have been in before, or meeting a supervisor and making that connection you didn't have before, or even simply just speaking into your creativity and helping you with direction, giving you notes on songs. Having a team behind you is such a benefit, but also mad respect to the people that are doing it independently. It's so hard out there. And you just have to remember to celebrate the small wins. Otherwise, you will burn out. I have to remind myself that every single day. But just keep going, be true to yourself, be genuine to your art, and the right people and the right team will bring themselves along for the ride.
I think that's huge right there. You said celebrate the wins because again, that's a gap in the game kind of mindset. It's interesting that you're kind of hitting
Mhm.
on that, but it's like you
Mhm.
have to, because if you don't, it'll seem like everything will seem like a struggle. Everything will be a struggle. And
Definitely.
it just seems like you're never closer to it. But when you celebrate the wins, you realize, oh, those are wins that I didn't have maybe like a year ago. So I am making progress and I'm moving. It's just that now my standards have changed a little bit, but I have to acknowledge when
Totally.
I have growth, when I'm doing things, and acknowledging others' growth. Like if you have a team, if somebody gets a placement, some can view it as, well, I didn't get it. It's like, or they got it and they're doing things that you're doing too. So the likelihood of you getting one is like, it's relatively high. So it's just like, there's plenty. There's not scarcity. It just means you just have to work a little bit differently sometimes. You have to pivot. You have to build that team. As you said, you have to have a couple. The more lines you have in the water, the more likely you are going to strike some things. But if you're doing it yourself and you have that one line, it is going to be trickier, not impossible. But having a team sometimes is a little bit better. And it can be on a label level, but I think it can also just be like in a co-writer level sometimes, or just starting to connect with people
Totally.
with inside your community, regardless of what city. We happen to live in Nashville and we have a great community of like oriented people where you can connect and really understand people that work within licensing. And you can always meet someone new. But I think every
Yeah.
city, there are some people that you can still connect with.
Oh, definitely. There's communities in every city, and that extends to, the creatives, the people writing, the artists, the producers, but it goes past that. I mean, there's community of supervisors, there's community of creative sync people like me, and a lot of the time there will be events or panels or happy hours or coffee hangs where you can go meet these people. And please don't show up and like inundate them with questions, but just get to know them because at the end of the day, the relationship is so key. When you build a relationship and you build that rapport, you're more likely to be put on a search list for a brief, and the more likelihood you are to land the spot. So it comes down to, being a good person, meeting people, networking, and having good music.
I think it's like what you described right there too is there's one thing that you can do right now that is totally accessible, which is just be nice. What is it? It's like
Yeah,
Fred Rogers, 3 words to success, or three like things to success. Be kind, be kind, be kind. It's like it's literally the one thing in your control sometimes, in which there's so many things that feel like it's not in our control. That's one thing that we can do, and we don't have to inundate them. We don't have to be like, I got a thumb drive. Like, here, I brought my laptop. This has my reel right here. Do you want to watch it? It's just like, no, you can actually talk and just build a genuine relationship and realize this is awesome. Those are the things that are more sustainable, as opposed
they're more
to,
likely to think of you
instead of a shake. Because I think everybody feels when it's a shakedown, when they know it's like, hey, listen to my song. Do you want to listen to my song? Do you want to be my it's just like, it kind of feels a little like car salesy, where we know like, no. So building genuine connections long term is a great sustainable way, regardless of where you are. So Emily, thank you. This was so good. I feel there was a lot of things that we touched on, but I think this is super beneficial for those that are in that period of like, okay, I got another ad for a course, but I need to understand more. And I feel like you gave so many helpful hints along the way to help that person slowly get on track to be more informed, so that as opportunities come their way, they're more aware of the industry and not kind of hoping something sticks.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy that I get the chance to shed some light on the sync world. It's a very confusing place, so as much help as I can be, I'm happy to do it.
Oh, this was awesome. Hey, it's Mike from Songwriting for Guitar. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And hey, don't leave. We got other cool videos you should check out too. Like some of these right here. Oh, that one right there. That's really good. You should click that. Right there. Just click it.